Small Parisian apartments demonstrate that limited square footage does not have to mean limited beauty. The most successful French interiors focus on proportion, atmosphere, natural light, and thoughtful composition rather than simply adding more furniture. A small room can feel sophisticated when every element has a clear purpose and enough breathing space around it. Instead of filling the home with fashionable objects, Parisian-inspired decorating often combines a restrained palette with distinctive vintage pieces, textured fabrics, artwork, and architectural details. The result is an interior that feels elegant without appearing overly designed. This philosophy is particularly relevant today because many modern homes and apartments prioritize efficient living. Parisian style offers a useful lesson. Rather than asking how to make a small space look bigger at any cost, consider how to make it feel more intentional, comfortable, and emotionally rich. The foundation of this aesthetic usually begins with the architecture. Even when an apartment does not possess authentic French details, elements such as tall curtains, decorative molding, paneled doors, classic mirrors, or carefully selected wall treatments can create a similar sense of character. However, imitation should never become excessive. The goal is not to transform a contemporary apartment into a theatrical version of 19th century Paris. Instead, historical references should be balanced with modern functionality. A clean-lined sofa can sit comfortably beside an antique table, while contemporary lighting can illuminate traditional artwork. This contrast creates visual depth. The eye discovers something different at every angle, yet the room still feels unified. In small spaces, this layered quality can make an interior feel much more sophisticated than a room decorated entirely in one predictable style. Vintage furniture is one of the strongest ingredients in creating a Parisian-inspired atmosphere. Its value is not necessarily determined by age or price, but by the character it introduces into a room. A small wooden table with visible grain, an antique mirror with a naturally aged surface, or a vintage chair with slightly imperfect upholstery can immediately make a contemporary apartment feel more established. These pieces bring visual history into an otherwise modern environment. They also prevent the interior from looking like a collection of items purchased at the same time. A room becomes more interesting when it appears to have evolved gradually, with objects discovered and collected over many years. The most useful vintage pieces for small apartments are often those with compact proportions and practical functions. A narrow console can occupy an entrance without blocking circulation. A small writing desk can double as a workspace and decorative display. An antique chest can provide storage while serving as a visual focal point. A compact round table can function as a dining table without creating the hard corners associated with rectangular furniture. The important consideration is scale. A beautiful vintage piece can still be inappropriate if it overwhelms the room. In compact interiors, furniture should allow clear pathways and preserve enough negative space for the eye to rest. One of the biggest challenges of decorating a small apartment is balancing beauty with functionality. Every piece of furniture consumes physical space, so decisions must be made carefully. The solution is not necessarily to own as little as possible, but to make each major piece work harder. A small bench can provide seating while also functioning as a place to put bags. A storage ottoman can serve as a footrest, occasional table, and hidden storage container. A console can provide both display space and practical organization. When furniture performs multiple roles, the apartment becomes more flexible without feeling crowded. Circulation is another critical consideration. A room can have beautiful furniture and still feel uncomfortable if people cannot move through it easily. In small interiors, clear pathways are essential. Furniture should be positioned according to how people actually enter, sit, work, eat, and move between rooms. Pushing every piece against a wall is not always the best solution. Sometimes allowing a sofa or chair to float slightly away from the wall creates a more natural arrangement and improves the visual balance. The objective is to create a sense of movement rather than simply maximizing the amount of furniture that can physically fit. The personality of a Parisian-inspired apartment often emerges through small details. A gallery wall can introduce history and artistic expression without consuming floor space. Vintage prints, architectural drawings, botanical illustrations, photography, or abstract artwork can be combined to create a collection that feels personal. The frames do not need to match perfectly. In fact, slight variation can make the arrangement appear more collected over time. What matters is creating relationships between the pieces through color, scale, spacing, or subject matter. Artwork should not simply fill an empty wall, it should contribute to the emotional identity of the room. Textiles provide another opportunity to create depth. Linen, cotton, wool, velvet, and woven materials can be layered within a restrained palette. A neutral room becomes much more interesting when several textures are present. A soft rug can define the living area, while linen curtains soften the windows. A knitted throw adds casual comfort to a chair, and velvet cushions can introduce subtle richness. These differences are particularly effective in small rooms because they create complexity without requiring additional furniture. Instead of adding more objects, designers can add more tactile variation. The greatest lesson from small Parisian interiors is that elegance is not dependent on size. A compact apartment can feel sophisticated when the design respects proportion, light, circulation, texture, and personal identity. The goal is not to disguise the apartment's dimensions completely. Instead, the design should work with those dimensions. Small rooms can become intimate rather than cramped. Compact dining areas can become charming rituals. A narrow hallway can become a gallery. An awkward corner can become a reading nook. When every part of the home receives thoughtful attention, limitations become opportunities. Parisian style also demonstrates why timeless design is often more valuable than following every trend. Trends can provide inspiration, but they change quickly. A neutral architectural foundation, quality materials, vintage furniture, and personal artwork can remain relevant for decades. This does not mean the interior must remain frozen. Small changes in cushions, flowers, artwork, lighting, or accessories can refresh the atmosphere without requiring a complete redesign. The result is a home capable of evolving naturally. That flexibility is especially important for small apartments because changing a few carefully chosen elements can create a significant transformation.